Hi guys, it's Jenny with Art for Good. Today we're going to talk about the coveted and secretive bloom technique. It has a reputation for being a little bit difficult to master, and I wouldn't suggest that this is a technique that you start to learn if you're just barely getting started in acrylic pouring. It's definitely a little bit more difficult, but the problem that I had when I was first setting out to try to do a bloom technique is that I couldn't find consistent information about what the paint recipe was, and it seemed really complicated. You need all kinds of different types of pouring mediums and materials that you don't use in other techniques. I know a lot of artists actually sell classes on how to do this. If that's what you would like to do, go right ahead. I think the more information we can all share with each other and the more learning, the better. But I have sort of a very simple, but today I'm going to break it down for you what I have used to do the bloom technique, and I'm hoping that this will make it very simple. I've spelled out all my recipes here for you so that you can pause it and refer back to it, take screenshots, or ask questions in the comments, whatever's going to help you learn how to do this beautiful technique. So let's get started with the recipe. The first is the pillow, and that is the first puddle that you put down on your canvas. And they also call it a base, or this is just sort of the start to your pour. I used a Behr premium house paint in the color white, and I'm gonna put the exact brand that I used in the description below. But I've seen many other artists use all kinds of premium house paint for their pillow. And if it's a little thick, if it's hard to pour out, say it's been, it's not mixed up well or what have you, you can add a tiny bit of water. It does need to flow out, but it is gonna be a thicker consistency because that's gonna hold the composition that you want for the bloom. So the recipe that we use is mixed a lot differently than other techniques. So here is a basic bloom recipe. Now this is a small quantity because you're usually working on a small canvas if you're doing a bloom. And so this is enough to cover, say, an 8x10 sized canvas or a small tile or what have you. This is gonna actually probably give you leftover paint. So I use 2 tablespoons of my premium acrylic paint. So that's your basic brands, Liquitex, Artsmith, it's Artist Loft, it's Amsterdam. Those are, those types of paints. 2 tablespoons of that. You're gonna mix in 1 tablespoon of Jassonia Gloss Varnish, the water-based one that's green. Again, I'm gonna put links to all these exact products in the description below for you. Then you're gonna mix, as your pouring medium, a Behr 8300 untinted deep base, and you can buy this right off the shelf at your hardware store. You're gonna use 4 tablespoons of that, and then 1 tablespoon of water, and you're just gonna mix that all together. Again, it's gonna be a thicker consistency. It's gonna be very glossy and shiny, which is great and what you want. But first, a secret reveal. In addition to mixing bloom colors, I have actually just used my regular pouring paint as in a bloom and done really well as long as I had the house paint base and the cell activator color or recipe in place. So feel free to mix and match, experiment. You can buy tiles at the hardware store that are really cheap, and those are really easy to practice on and pour on. And lastly, your cell activator is going to be very, very, very important. And I went ahead and splurged for Australian Floetrol, and I got it, a small can of it, or canister I should say, off of Amazon. It was $50. I was really wondering what I was doing with my life when I bought this $50 small Floetrol bottle, but it has made a huge difference in my bloom technique. So your cell activator is gonna be your acrylic paint, 1 tablespoon of it. Colors that work really well are Amsterdam, titanium white, but in this recipe that I'm showing you today, I just used a black color. I used Mars Black from Artsmith. And you're gonna do 2 tablespoons of Australian Floetrol and then a little bit of water, 1 tablespoon. And you want it to be thinner consistency than your other paints. All right, so let's get started. So I have a small canvas here on my spinner, and I'm first going to put down the house paint. And I'm putting a pillow in the middle, as they call it, which is just a small pool of paint, and then I am going to put a little bit on the outside of the canvas so that it helps stretch out and helps that paint flow over the sides. You can see the consistency is really thick, right? And I'm putting a blue color on the outside of my bloom because I wanted it to look like sort of the sky in my composition, but feel free, you don't necessarily have to do that. I'm using sort of an orange and pink palette today. I'll put the exact colors in the description below. But here I am just using, if it's in the bottles, those are just my regular pouring paints. So now the cell activator is the black with the Australian Floetrol. Now for blowing the paint, you want to first blow downward and then out. You're really just blowing that black paint over the top. So watch a lot of videos of people doing this. You can also use a straw with an attachment. I've seen some people do that. Or you can also use a hairdryer on a low setting. But you just want that black paint to grace the top of the rest of the colors. And that's what's gonna give you that beautiful lacing. So in this video, I'm just blowing, I don't know, 5 or 6 different petals out from the center. And I'm just gonna give it a quick torch so that it helps those bubbles pop up in the black areas that make the lacing happen. You don't wanna spin right away. You definitely wanna give it a few minutes to let those cells form before you start spinning. All right, so now I'm gonna spin. I have a great video, by the way, I'll put a link here to how to extend the size of your cake spinner very easily and cheaply so that you can spin larger canvases. I've done actually up to a 36 by 36 inch canvas using this assembly. So you can see that those cells in the middle are getting slowly bigger, and I'm just adding a little more blue. I prefer that sort of in my composition. And then I'm just blowing the blue out a little bit so it makes it look a little more natural that this just happened and that I didn't just add it and plop it on the canvas. I'm also going to add in the description below a couple of my favorite color combinations for the bloom technique. So now I'm just covering the sides and it's pretty much ready to go. I'm just, filling any gaps where it didn't flow over the sides all the way. And you'll let this dry like you would any other acrylic pour painting. It's going to take probably 2 to 3 days to fully dry. And then I would wait another couple of days and do a clear coat of varnish on these. I prefer spray varnishes, but I'm going to soon be doing a video on comparisons of different types of varnishes and resin and showing you the differences of all of those. So if that's interesting to you, be sure to subscribe. And there you have it. This is the final pour, and it's really easy to do. I would encourage you to just get in there and practice. Once you mix up these paints, you can store them in containers, go back to them and just keep playing with different types of blooms. And I guarantee you will get this. Well, that's all I have for today. Tell me what you think about this video, or if you have any other questions in the comments, or if you have any other tips for other artists, please share those in this community. And I'll see you next time.